Okay, good. Well, we're going to jump right into it. So I'm here in Mexico City, and I have been living in Mexico for a number of years, San Miguel de Allende before this, but I have been doing art workshops here in Mexico since about 2017, with, of course, a pause for the pandemic, right? And now as we're kind of coming back out of the pandemic, people are starting to do workshops. I've been doing some workshops on my own here in Mexico, Mexico City, Guanajuato, Oaxaca, Sayulita, and maybe a few other cities. And as I was kind of growing my workshops, I was like, I want to align myself with some powerhouse instructors, which is why I have partnered with each of you for the Drawing Mexico workshop series. And so, yeah, really excited. It's been exciting to work with you guys to plan these and just get all the details of it. But I thought it would be a good idea for us to all chat here and talk a little bit about, because I think at first people were like, oh gosh, I'm not accomplished enough to take a workshop like this, right? Like, these are illustrators, these are professional artists, and I'm not good enough for that, right? But really what we have all is sort of really, at the end of the day, this is like creative drawing, right? Like, we draw on location creatively, which is what each of these workshops will be. And so I would love to hear what your plans and your ideas for, like Jedidiah Dore, we are doing dynamic drawing and creative color Mexico City in March. And so I'm really excited to work with you on that. You want to tell us kind of what your thoughts are for that?
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Jedidiah Dore. I'm a Queens, New York City based artist and educator. Honored to be here among such great company with Megan and Veronica Lawlor. I'm just really excited. Drawing is my passion. You guys know that. I feel like if I don't draw every single day, I'm missing out on something. But it has, I just love how it has this ability to stimulate and spark ideas. It's kind of like a superpower. It's like you gain the superpower to tell stories and capture stories and report about stories. But and with the dynamic drawing workshop, it's really about having fun. I feel like, all of these sort of key terms with reportage and teaching here and there and all these kinds of other labels. I feel like I'm a professional fun haver. That's really about what I do. I love drawing so much. I have so much fun when I draw, and I love teaching. Teaching is another passion of mine. And that's something I'm going to really try to have in my workshop, and the dynamic drawing, reportage drawing and creative color in Mexico City. I'm super excited to see Mexico City. I'm from California, so I've been to Mexico, but not that far down south. But it's really just, it's going to be exciting and creative. We're going to take this very energetic approach to just drawing on location and learning a little bit about reportage illustration.
Yeah.
And those kinds of concepts. It's really about visual journalism and storytelling. We're going to play.
Well, I was just going to say, and I was looking over your supply list, which is super exciting, because many times I've just gone out with ink and watercolor, and you've got us using some other, a variety of supplies that we still are going to be out on the street, out sketching on location. So you got to be able to like hike around with it, but it's about incorporating some playful drawing techniques with some of the things that maybe a lot of us are already familiar with. So I think that's part of the playfulness, right? Like playing with different drawing on location techniques.
Yeah, it's something that I try to practice each and every day, especially on location. It's just experimenting with color and experimenting with different methods and media. And so that's something I can't wait to teach everybody, is really how to incorporate all these different media and different processes, and it's also adds to your language, your way of telling that visual language. It's almost like learning new languages and adding to your arsenal. So I love to mix it up and really throw some different things together.
I love looking at your,
this or that,
Yeah, your reels on your Instagram are really, because they highlight all the different techniques. And I know you do murals and you do like big oil paintings too, but your reportage and your just sketching on location the reels that you make, highlighting your different techniques are super cool. Very informative too to watch.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like that kid during the show and tell, I've always loved, get that feeling of, oh my gosh, look what I discovered, guys, and I want you guys to try it.
Yeah.
And that's something that I just, want to incorporate in the workshop. It's, just that idea of experimentation and asking ourselves, what happens if we do this? What happens if we try this or that, or mix these two different media and try to capture it in that way. So it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and so you've been doing that a lot, of course, where you live in New York City and Boston, surrounding areas. So to have you come to Mexico City, which is this monster metropolis, but also has a lot of like the Aztec civilization has all, that city was sort of covered up by the Spaniards. So to have you guiding us in in Mexico City, where there's all sorts of it's a cultural melting pot, right? But different from it's the New York City of Latin America. So it's going to be super cool to have you here with us in Mexico City. And while so you're in Mexico City, but then Veronica, we got you coming to Oaxaca, which is also in Mexico, of course, but it's very different. Like once you've been to Oaxaca, there's no other place like it. There's not really industry there. It's mostly tourism, but the indigenous, it's really quite still an indigenous city. And so with the combination of the colors and the earthiness, I'm super excited to have you come to Oaxaca and bring your powerhouse workshop. So what are your thoughts on coming to Oaxaca?
Thanks, Megan. Yeah, hi, I'm Veronica Lawlor, or Ronnie. A lot of people call me Ronnie. And it's really nice to be here with you and Jed talking about these workshops, Drawing Mexico. I am so excited to join you and to bring everyone to Oaxaca in June this year. Like you said, Oaxaca is, such a very singular place. It's really, there are a lot of cultural traditions of, the Zapotec people that are still happening there. And it's this kind of intangible something that drawing on location, reportage is really meant for. It's sort of capturing the daily life of people and a way of life that is part of the cultural heritage of Mexico. To me, that really is close to my heart. I'm also from New York. I'm also living in Queens. Like Jed and I can wave to each other.
Oh, you guys are neighbors.
Yeah. We're not too far from each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and the whole idea of this workshop that we've talked about, Megan, and that I'm really excited to give, is that we're going to be documenting these things together. And it's a mixed media workshop. So the idea is not to bring a ton of stuff, but kind of jumping on what Jed was saying, the idea is that we're going to have some fun together. We're going to have, I'm asking everyone to bring a small amount of a lot of different materials to talk about how we can capture the feeling of these intangible things. It's not so much for me about drawing exactly what it looks like, drawing the buildings of Oaxaca, drawing the scene of Oaxaca, although that's part of it, but it's really about drawing the feeling. And that's when that to me is when drawing while you're traveling makes so much sense, because you're taking back with you your memories and the feeling and the experience of being there. So, while we're there, we're gonna visit a traditional market. We're gonna see some traditional culture that's happening. The last day will be in the main plaza, and we're going to draw feather dancers. We're going to draw the people coming out, celebration. And that might sound daunting, like to your point earlier about people saying, oh, I don't know if I can do this workshop. The whole point is that we're going to build up slowly, and we're going to break it down so that you can capture these things, not in a way of photographic realism, because first of all, we have cameras for that. Second of all, that's why we draw, right? And so the capture is going to be the way something feels. And
I think it's worth just doubling down on that, because I think that's such an important part of the workshop. Like, I've known you for a number of years because I interviewed you for Drawing Attention years ago, and I took a workshop from you in Amsterdam, and I've been a big fan of your work. But you are drawing on location, but it isn't precise, right? Like, it's not, you're not drawing the door and the window and the bike out front. You're drawing, it seems to me that it's much more free, creative, and energetic. It's like the energy of the place.
Yeah, although, you know, I will say we will talk about all of that too, right? Because you're drawing a place. So you definitely want to draw the place, but it isn't about this sort of precision.
Right.
And, you know, I always say drawing is an experience, and drawing is a way to engage with the world. And like, I'm a little bit of a shy person, just, you know, naturally, right? I'm more introverted. And I think a lot of artists are, but through drawing, it becomes this form of communication. So for example, when we go to the market in Oaxaca, you know, I mean, there are going to be people there they're there to sell, first of all, their produce, they're there to cook and sell the food, but we'll be there documenting this. And again, this market is this intangible sort of cultural heritage, but we're not going to document it in a way like when tourists come in with cameras and it's like click, 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 and they grab it and run. You know, the idea is that when you do reportage drawing, when you are documenting and drawing something like this on location, you are there with them and you're experiencing it with them, and you're investing your time and your energy. And what happens is this kind of communication goes on.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about this morning. I was remembering at one of the Urban Sketchers symposiums that was in Santo Domingo. I went one day to a market in Santo Domingo, the Mercado, and I decided to just sort of focus on one little shop. And, you know, I spoke, I have a little bit of Spanish. I spoke to them and I said, do you mind if I sit here? And they said, no, that's fine. And so, you know, you start to become part of the day with these people.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, the man who ran the shop invited me back for a little cup of coffee, and he talked to me about Dominican coffee, and it became a story. Yeah. So this is the idea of this kind of involvement. But we will also be doing exercises to kind of, so that, you know, it becomes clear how to do it. So I don't want someone to get intimidated and say, oh my God, like, I don't want to draw dancers.
In a Mercado, right? Like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Or I want to draw that, but I don't know how. So the beauty of 4 days together is that we're going to start slow with some short exercises to get everybody into this mode of thinking about drawing as experience, as expression, as free, you know, like Jed was saying, as you were saying, as a creative engagement, and instead of sort of like a test, like, is it right or is it wrong? Is it good or is it bad? It's that, this has nothing to do with it.
And a different angle way to look at that whole Mercado scene, or like in Mexico City with Jed, with the Aztec dancers, is if you show up with your phone doing this, click, 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 they'll chase you out of there. They don't like the whole camera thing at all. But my experience has been in the Oaxacan Mercado with the Aztec dancers. If you say, can I draw you? Or you just motion, I've got this, can I? They're far more like, yeah, because you're making an effort, you're like drawing them, and they're kind of cool with that, right?
You're investing your time and your talent in what they're doing, you know, and it's like you become part of the family somehow. Yeah. And you have to spend some time. Sorry, Jed, you gonna say something?
No, I wanted to add, it's wonderfully said. I think there's so much that happens, you know, when we draw on location that you wouldn't observe, that you wouldn't notice if you're just walking through this area. You know, like I just did a reportage commission, right, for Herald Square. So I drew the 4 directions there, Macy's Herald Square. And I walk by there like every New Yorker does every single day. But when I sat there to draw these 4 directions, I was there all day. There were so many things so many nuances that I noticed just observing, just quietly, patiently waiting for things to unravel. And they sure do. They just unfold right in front of you. Every story, all the drama, all the suspense of life just happening right in front of you. Like, for example, the traffic policewoman that was standing at the intersection. She loved that I was drawing, so she'd walk over and kind of, you know, peek over at my drawings every once in a while, because I literally spent the whole day there like she did. And then I think it was her husband came by and dropped off her lunch, so I thought that was really sweet. So there's things like that that happen that's so New
Yeah.
York that you would never notice if you're just walking through or just snapping, you know, photos. So
That
I
is
love
the beauty of sketching on location, right? You do become part of the story.
Mhm.
And can I say something else about that? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you know, because when we say story too, then sometimes I've had people say to me, well, I don't have a story. I'm just drawing what's here. I don't, you know, but that's the story, because just the feeling can be the story, you know, or certain
Yeah.
color can be the story. And we'll also talk about that, you know,
Mhm.
how to, the word isn't find the story, how to allow it to happen, how
Yeah.
to understand what you're interested in. And what would you tell somebody when you got home about this place? We're going to talk about how to make those drawings and how to make those decisions in your drawing with mixed
Yeah.
media, with all of these tools to do that. And it isn't that sort of, again, like it's got to look exact. It's about what am I interested in? And that's the story. That's the story
Mhm.
too. And so, you know, I just wanted to add
Well,
that.
and that's a super good point, because the workshops that I have been doing here in Mexico, it has basically been continuous line urban sketching, right? And it's a way to sort of to relax me and my participants to just like, yeah, there's wherever you go in Mexico is pretty chaotic, right? There's always something going on. And it's the reason why I started doing that is when I moved to Mexico City, I was like, oh my God, it's so overwhelming here, right? So I was like, put the pen down and just draw. Put the pen down and just draw. And I'm doing workshops on that, right? I have an online or a Facebook group, whatever. But my workshops are like, put your pen down and draw. And I love it personally, and I love how excited people get when they finally go, oh, I can do this. I can draw. It's not that scary, right? And so reaching out to both, you know, Veronica, I've kind of stayed in touch with you over the years. We all kind of got lost for a while, but now we're coming back here, right? And I was like, I know I want to do a workshop with Veronica someday, because I just really love how you like push people, open up this creativity and people to have this like expressive drawing, right? And through you, I found Jedidiah as well, and then to see his style of like, it's the pushing this creativity, right? Like it's. I mean, I'm not going to say you're doing the continuous line, but I feel like it's an extension of that. It's like taking it next level of like opening up your creativity and trusting your line to tell a story, right?
Trust your line, and or just do it, you know. Just I think what I like about the idea of continuous line is, you know, because we can, people, it can get overwhelming, you know, like we're here talking, like Jed and I are talking about, we can't wait to draw the dancers, the energy, the markets, but we've been doing it for a long time. So, you know, personally, I just can't wait to get there. But I also remember when I was starting, and I had teachers who would start talking about the this and the that, and I'd go, oh my God, no, like, no. But by just saying, you know what, just put the line down and start drawing, because once you start, you get over that hurdle, and you discover what you're capable of. And we're all capable of so much that we hold ourselves back from trying. And the trying is everything. It's the whole thing, right? Because then you see, then it becomes something you do and you want to continue so that you can get better, instead of this like, well, if I can't draw like Michelangelo in the first shot, I'm not an artist. And that's, I don't know what that is, but I think we all had that teacher in second grade who made the decision, and we've sort of lived with it.
Yes. And I heard this wonderful quote about Mexico when I first started drawing here. It said, Mexico, especially Mexico City, looks like it's been drawn with a very unsteady hand. And I was like, I like that. It almost like gives me permission to not be perfect, right? I'm from Chicago, where everything is precise. And I'm like, get me out of Chicago, man. Get me back to Mexico, where everything is like wobbly, right? And so it's great to be teaching Jed the dynamic drawing in Mexico City, the mixed media reportage in Oaxaca, that it kind of like just takes that, right? Like just be okay with the wobbly.
Well, it's interesting. There's something I always say to students is if you keep making the same mistake over and over, you have to say, well, this is mine. It's yours. It's your way of drawing. And we keep going, no, this can't be right. Your drawing will tell you. The drawing will lead you, right? And I've heard you say that too, Jed. The drawing will lead you right into it.
That's
and
so
you just
cool.
have to go along for the ride. Sorry, yeah.
No, that's so cool. To add to that, I always tell my students that your first line is your best line. Sometimes when I tell people just draw a circle, they draw 10 circles, and it's like, the first one was just right. And I love telling people that I know this sounds kind of corny, but there's no such thing as mistakes. There's just your personality. It really is. It's all about finding who you are. And with drawing, it's like it's like the way you write your signature. There's no such thing as good or bad. It's not about great drawing. It's about becoming this personality that you always, when we were kids, we would draw with no filter. We would just draw like crazy, right? Everything was great. And somehow we sort of lost that, so it's kind of going back to
yeah, like when people say I can't even draw a straight line, I say, well, that's wonderful. Me neither.
Down for that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super excited for this. Jed, your workshop's coming up first. March is going to be here in no time, right? Here it is. Happy Christmas time, but springtime will be here in no time. So we will be based in Roma Norte, which is just outside of the Centro Histórico. So it's kind of nice that it's a residential area where it's a little bit calmer as opposed to being right downtown. But we're very close downtown. We're going to be going to the Anthropology Museum, one of the art museums, and down to like the Zocalo, where the pyramids are bursting through the sidewalks, and the Aztec dancers, and the Monster Cathedral. Like, the architecture is just insane. So I feel like it's such a great location for your personality, your style, right? And I don't even know you that well, but I was like, God, I can just totally see him in this
100%.
whole Mexico City thing, right?
I have to remind Ronnie, because I think Ronnie remembers this. When we used to go to Disney World and we draw with Dave, I just made a beeline to Mexico. And the first thing I did was just order this big plate of tacos and this big plate of food. And Dave caught me. He walked by. He goes, "Stop eating, kids. Start drawing." It just reminds me so much about Mexico, or these drawing.
Oh man, the food. Yeah, I can't wait for the food too.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about that.
We haven't even talked about that. And in all my workshops, I include the whole cultural aspect of restaurants and even street food too. And I go to street food that I know is trusted. I don't go to anything willy-nilly. I have been living here for years, and I have tried out, I've made all the mistakes, right? And so the places that we go to eat are trusted. You can have ice, you can have water, not worry about it. Same with Oaxaca, right? Like, Oaxaca is such a special place. And I just think, Veronica, with your style and I feel like I need a refresher too, because it's been so long since Amsterdam seems like a million years ago.
A long time ago.
Long time ago. And just the whole essence of this is kind of happening around the world, like this whole cultural thing is kind of slipping away, right? So to be able to capture that with how you teach people, right?
Exactly. And plus we're going to go to the district with all the art on the walls, and we're going to see that sort of side of Oaxaca. Oaxaca has this great art tradition as well. I mean, I've wanted to go there for so long, and when you first started talking to me about it, I was like, oh, yes, we got to do it. Yeah, it's things are changing, and the world is getting so much smaller, and I'm not going to jump on that soapbox.
Yeah,
that's the way it is.
Right?
But it is really exciting to be able to document things. And then, 10, 15 years from now, you look at the drawings and say, wow, that's what life was like there then. And you have it in your sketchbook. It's amazing.
Yeah. It is amazing. And I'm super proud and delighted to be working with you both on your workshops. Jed, you in Mexico City, Veronica in Oaxaca. I will have more to the Drawing Mexico series that will be revealed later. But I think for today, we kind of we went a little bit more than scratching the surface to provide people information about what it is we're going to be doing in each respective workshop, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Join us.
Yeah, we did it, huh? Now, now we can go back to like being in our pajamas, right? Working in our house in our Zoom. All right, guys. Well, really great to chat with you both here today. We'll do some more promotional marketing as we get closer to each workshop. Like I'll work with you, Jed, and we'll talk to you more, Veronica, so people can understand and not want to miss an opportunity to come to Mexico. I just, as an artist, I don't see why anyone would not want to come to Mexico, because it's such a great place to make art and be an artist and just to experience a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
All right, guys. Well, stay safe out there, and I will chat with you soon and see you all soon, okay?
Great
Bye,
to chat
everybody.
with you
Thanks so
both.
much. Thanks,
Bye.
Ronnie. Thanks, Megan.